Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today we're joined by Mark George, the CEO of the Music Institute of Chicago, which is located in Evanston. The Music Institute of Chicago is a nonprofit community music school that leads people toward a lifelong engagement with music by providing widely accessible resources for high-quality music teaching, performing, and service activities, and harnessing the power of music to educate, inspire, and bring comfort to the communities it serves. I am so excited to learn about the Music Institute. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So you're not too far from me, right? The Music Institute is on Chicago Avenue?
We have our office headquarters at the corner of Church and Sherman.
Okay.
And then we have a concert hall, Nichols Concert Hall, on a campus at 1490 Chicago Avenue, right in downtown Evanston.
So right nearby. How long has the organization been open, and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, this is our 91st year.
So a few years.
A few years, and a couple of real visionary musicians and teachers, David and Dorothy Dushkin. They were partners, started it and had this, at the time, was a pretty radical idea, was that anyone could learn music. So it used to be that you would kind of wait for the talent to bubble up to the top and then say, okay, they're worth teaching. But they wanted to teach whole families, whole communities, and that has been our ethos ever since.
So how did they start doing that? I mean, do you have a school, or how did they connect with the community?
Sure. I mean, I think, in many ways stayed true to their vision. They had a school that was originally in their home, and then they expanded, but students would come there and they would take lessons. There was a lot of group music making, intergenerational music making. And one thing that we don't do anymore that I find actually interesting is that David used to have the students make instruments as
Really?
well. He had a workshop in his basement, and they made recorders and all kinds of things, and it helped the students get invested in what they were doing.
So then they kind of, by making the instrument, they started to understand the physics of it?
I think so, and also, that this is something of value. It takes a lot of love and effort to make something and to treat it well and play it well. And I think that was just part of the training.
Wow. So they would play these instruments then, I assume, when there'd be concerts, and I mean, there'd probably be a lot of pride that people would have for that. But even still, now that you don't build the instruments, it's the training. Is it just the people that go through the school that then play the concerts, or is it anybody? Do you bring on traveling?
Sure. Well, there are really three parts to what we do, and you mentioned it. The community music school is all about teaching. About 98% of our students are just coming as an avocation to help them with their with brain building and habits of mind, and their parents want them to have music in their lives, and lots of adult students come for that as well. A small percentage of students, and this is also a historic trend, become professional musicians. And we have a program called the Academy. It's the only part of the school that's by audition. Mm-hmm. And those kids, over 16 years now, I think 80% of them are still professionals in music. So it's a very good batting average. And the third part is that we do try to leverage all those kids and our faculty to go out and meet people in the community. It's not practical to expect every student to come to us. Right. And so we go deep into communities and teach folks there.
Do you go into their homes, or you go into different community centers?
It's mostly community centers or churches, sometimes residences, but not in somebody's room. We might go to a senior center or community center. But recently we have really tried to make these performances intimate, because there's a real magic that happens when you see a real person playing right in front of you. Yeah. That you can't get really from a recording. And so we've been trying to do that with our community work. And then you mentioned Nichols Concert Hall earlier. That is a guest artist and faculty series. So that is a truly a professional series. We have some of the same artists that you might see at Ravinia or CSO, and people come there for a real concert experience. Sometimes I find that Nichols Concert Hall is the best kept secret, maybe in Evanston, but it is this gorgeous former Christian Science church, 550 seats, pristine acoustics, Greek revival architecture.
Wow.
It's a really great place to hear a concert.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you could walk to it if you're around here.
Absolutely. It's very convenient.
It's very convenient. And it's different than going to like CSO or to Ravinia. I mean, Ravinia is walkable if you're in the Ravinia area or if you're in downtown Chicago. But if you're here in the SCEV, this is, I think, really the place to go.
Yeah, and it's like $5 for parking instead of $35.
Exactly. That's a better deal. Mm-hmm. Now, what got you into music? I mean, how long have you worked here for and led the organization?
Sure. Well, this is my 12th year as president of MIC, and I came from a family of musicians. In the first 15 years of my career, I was a performer only, a pianist, and played classical and jazz music. And I started when my daughter was born. I couldn't travel as much as what musicians do. So I started getting into more teaching and more administrating for the arts sector, and one thing led to another, and I was recruited to come here to MIC about 12 years ago.
And do you still play at all, though, or is that something that you've really pulled back on? Well,
I keep a foot in it,
yeah,
and do maybe a project or two a year rather than a project a week. That's what it used to be.
So you said, though, that you came from a family of musicians. Tell us about that.
Yeah, a little bit atypical probably from most of my colleagues, but my family, first-generation immigrants from Italy and Poland, and the Italian side especially had this rich tradition of town bands where they would, and at that time it was boys only, but it changed for everyone. But from a very young age, you were just going to be in the band and you were going to learn music. And people who, in my hometown, Glassport, Pennsylvania, worked in mills, kinds of factories, sometimes miners, but they did music on the weekends. So it was this very rich tradition. And so my father was a musician, my two older brothers, and I maybe didn't have a choice. I don't know. It seemed like the family business.
Oh, it's a good family business to be in. I mean, it's quite the juxtaposition, from working in, factories, mines in Pennsylvania to the music. I mean, people don't necessarily think about that, but I mean, is your family still there, or did they move around the country?
My brothers are still both musicians. One's in California, one is in Florida, and lots of cousins still in the Pittsburgh area. But you may notice the parallel between that and the Dushkin's vision that everyone can do music. And
right.
Like you said, it's surprising to people now, but it's really true. If your teachers are good enough, nurturing enough, anybody can do this and benefit from it and love it.
One thing that I want to talk about with you is how you pivoted during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And, for anyone in music or where you have to have people there, it must have been really, really challenging. So I definitely want to get into how you've pivoted and where you are now, but I just want to see, do you think that there's a good opportunity now for children who, had different challenges with schooling because of remote schooling, and to be able to get in and learn music, can that help augment what they're doing and get them back on track?
Sure. Well, everybody pivoted. And it's a challenge, certainly, for every organization, nonprofits, not the least. I had a little bit of a background in distance learning when I used to work at the Cleveland Institute of Music. So I knew what we were up against, and we had a little bit of a jump. And we took our spring break early and added one extra week, and we were up teaching online the following week. And it took a little while to establish best practices, say. If you do everything right with the technology on both ends, with your connectivity, with your microphones and all that, it can be pretty good. And so we got there. The truth of it, though, is that that should be a complement to the in-person music, and it pretty much is now. You used to be like a parent would bring their kid in when they had a cold because they didn't want to miss their lesson, and then they'd give everybody their cold. But now you stay home and you take an online lesson for that 1 week, and it's actually, that's a benefit. One thing that I really want to do, I think there is a role for distance education in the inner city because geography is a barrier. People don't just get in their car, right? They don't have the time, they don't have the money to do that. So I do have the vision of creating different spaces in various communities where people could go to take lessons, walking basically.
Yeah.
And the technology keeps getting better and better, and I'm sure by the end of my career it'll probably be really good.
Yeah. But you also have, we talked about this a little bit, you go out to the communities. You actually have satellite locations, right?
Yes, we have 8 campuses, physical campuses from as far north as Lake Forest, Winnetka, Evanston, Chicago. We're also in Downers Grove and Lincolnshire. So we do that. But those are regular campuses, just people are enrolling, paying tuition, coming to lessons and ensembles and all that. But we do some real community work, and the most recent example of that is a Suzuki cello program. Suzuki is a method of teaching that also emphasizes that any child can do this. And we were targeting the Latino community in Evanston, which a lot of people don't know is really a significant part of the community. So we ended up doing it at St. Nick's Church down on Ridge, and we had our first 15 students. These are first and second generation immigrant families, and it's just so heartwarming. I mean, it's something they would never been able to do because we underwrite it. It's a free program.
Yeah.
And looking forward to expanding that.
Oh, that's amazing. What is it? Every instrument? Do you bring them the instruments?
In this program, yes, we have a partner. William H. Lee is a string dealer and rental place in Chicago and Wilmette, donating everything.
Wow.
Which is, quite amazing. They're a great partner. And and St. Nick's is donating their space, and it's really just compensating the teachers for their time that we have to do, which is not insignificant. So we always, philanthropy is a big part of our life as well.
With philanthropy, I mean, again, with the pandemic, it was hard for all these nonprofits. Who are your main supporters, and how did you get them to help sustain you? And did you get help from the government at the time too?
We did have the PPP loan, which was incredibly helpful. But we also have, we have board of trustees, and lots of networks from there, people who have supported us over the years. And I think many nonprofits saw this during the pandemic, that people really stepped up and helped. Many people of means, of affluence, who just thought it was their duty to step up and save these organizations. And
right.
So we did pretty well because of those two factors.
It's pretty amazing that you're able to and be able to pivot. And so now, like when you have concerts, though, do you have it streaming at the same time that it is in person, that you could be there, or is it recorded and then you can watch after?
Sure. Nichols Concert Hall, every guest artist series is streamed, and so you can buy a reduced price ticket for that to see it live, and then you'll be able to see it for, I think, a month after that. And streaming can be really good. It's not interactive video conferencing, so this is broadcast quality video and audio, 3 cameras. So you really get a great concert experience in the streaming. But we want you there nonetheless.
Well, there's just something to it. Just being there in person and being. I just remember like the first concerts I was at after a full year of not being able to be in a concert, and it's such a sensory experience.
Yeah, well, it's different. It really is. And we had a good attendance at our concerts, especially as the year went on, that ended in June. People were hungry for that. We like many performing arts organizations, we kept the checking for vax and mandatory masks for our audience, and they appreciated that. I think it encouraged attendance rather than discouraged. We'll probably not be doing all of that in the next year as we normalize, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It's so hard to predict what's going to happen. I mean, we were talking before we started recording a little bit about, just about how you look at what the future is going to be in terms of an endowment and the stock market and investments and whatnot. And nobody can predict. I mean, people think that they can predict by looking at the past and seeing what's going to extrapolate that to the future, but we're not as good as we think we are at that.
Yeah, I mean, banks take their fitness tests, right, or their stress tests or whatever it is to see if they're financially viable. Most nonprofits can't pass that, without the generous assistance of some patrons and in, the case of the pandemic from the government. It's the rare institution that has a huge endowment that could just basically take over for a year or two. We're building our endowment, and that is certainly a goal so that, one of the prime fiduciary responsibilities of our board is to make sure we exist.
Yeah.
So 91 years, you don't want to be the one to not make it exist.
No. Let's take a quick break to hear from our supporters.
Moving day is a happy day, but how can you be sure all of your stuff will get to the new place in the same condition they left the old place? Upgrade your experience to First Class Moving and Storage. You'll get a team of professionals who treat all of your belongings with care and have the right tools to make the job go smoothly. They even offer a full packing service. Upgrade to First Class Moving and Storage. They're local and independently owned. For more info, visit the website at firstclassmovers.com. That's the number one, stclassmovers.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Masliansky, longtime Skokie and Evanston resident, host of Inside the Skev, and local real estate expert. As a community connector and realtor with Dreamtown Realty in downtown Evanston, I know firsthand what makes the Skev such an amazing place to live. When I'm helping my clients buy and sell properties inside of the Skev or out, I'm doing it with the best technology and support team behind me at Dreamtown. During the pandemic, I've been able to help my clients seamlessly stay on track with their home search. From immersive 3D Matterport tours, professional photos, to virtual open houses, my clients can find their homes safely and comfortably, and even from their couch. When you're ready to make a move, know that I'll be here to help. You can always find out more about me at skevinston.com/real estate. Again, that's skevinston.com/real estate, or email me at aaron@skevinston.com. Do you think that music helps train people's minds to be able to be flexible in those types of situations?
It definitely does, especially with young children. You hear this a lot, but the truth is that benefit, the brain building benefit, which is actually a physiological change. You can measure growth, very concretely in the brain. The benefit from that comes after about 3 years of lessons. You can't just go for a weekend and expect to get any benefit. But if you study, just regular lessons once a week, and you keep going for 3 or 4 years, you're going to see a really big benefit, especially if you start when you're 5, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, it helps connect those neurons. But you bring so many people in to learn, and then you have like the top students like you were talking about. Who are there people that have come out that we would know, like famous musicians?
Well, there are a lot of noteworthy musicians in the classical world, and this past year at the Grammys was actually a great example of the diversity of what we do. Jennifer Coe is a violinist who lives in New York now, who came out of MIC. She won a Grammy for Best Classical, and it was all these pieces that she had commissioned during the pandemic to be written and played. And then on the other side of the ledger, Emily Baer, with a partner, wrote a musical on, I believe it was TikTok.
Really?
And it was musical based on Bridgerton, that popular show. And it was a new mode of music making and a new way to convey it, but it won a Grammy.
That's pretty amazing. Now, who are some of the people that are coming for your next concert series? And when does that start?
Sure, sure. Well, you can see through the lineup of artists that we've really invested. We're really serious about connecting with all parts of our community. So our kickoff concert is on October 15th, and we are bringing the Quarteto Latinoamericano, the Latin American Quartet, which is based in Mexico City. They've been together for 40 years as a quartet. They're kind of like the Guanari Quartet south of the border, and they're fantastic. And they haven't been in Chicago for a long time. So we're really going to celebrate composers from Latin America, and in this case, performers from Latin America. And we really want all parts of our community to enjoy this. This is the best music that many people have never heard. I'll just put it that way. And then completely different, on October 29th, is our artist in residence, Tammy McCann, who's a jazz singer. And she is doing a show all about Mahalia Jackson, who is the great gospel singer matron of Chicago in the early and mid 20th century. So, and then I think the next one is a classical piano concert. So it's a little bit of everything, and everyone is exciting. And we were talking before about Nichols Concert Hall.
Yep.
Downtown Evanston. Tickets are reasonable, $30 a person, and you will get a very good show.
It's so amazing. How do you, coordinate with things, or do you at all interact with other concert venues that do something similar? I mean, what's the similarities and differences, say, between you guys and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, CSO?
Sure. Well, they do things on a grander scale. There's
Yeah.
no question, and they have, their core is their orchestra. So they've got 80 or 90 musicians on stage, and we tend to present chamber music, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, or possibly a small orchestra or a soloist. So the quality of the artists is really, no different, but the kinds of ensembles and the kinds of performers are appropriate for a 550-seat hall instead of a 2,000-seat hall.
And what do you think of the idea that Evanston is just becoming this entertainment and performing arts mecca? With you guys are here, and then you have the what's it called, Northlight Theater.
Northlight Theater.
They're going to be coming here. The construction's happening. They're tearing down the old building. Yeah. You feel like the momentum is building, don't you?
Absolutely, and we're heading toward just what I would call a critical mass of arts organizations. It should be the case. A lot of my teachers and a lot of artists live in Evanston, so why shouldn't their art form be presented in Evanston? So I think if it isn't already, I think a lot of people will consider Evanston a real destination for consuming arts and performing arts. And people, I want Nichols Concert Hall to be the meeting place for people from the city of Chicago and people from the North Shore. It's situated perfectly, just like Evanston is. And so I think we have good things ahead.
We definitely do. Now, one question I had is, I had on ITA, Institute for Therapy for the Arts, a while ago, and do you have a connection between them?
Well, they were part of the Music Institute for 30 years.
Yeah.
And we intentionally wanted them to be an autonomous organization, and they have successfully done that. They do music therapy and other kinds of arts therapy. Our students still avail themselves, of ITA's services, and it's a great legacy, and therapy is different than just teaching because
Sure.
It has clinical goals, but it's certainly no less significant.
Yeah, and I think that just shows the power of your organization and how it affects so many people. And I mean, it's not just Evanston like we've been talking about. You have satellite offices all around, and now with remote teaching, you could be anywhere in the world, which is so amazing. Just the strength and one thing I like to point out in the show is it's called Inside the Skev, Skokie Evanston. Mm-hmm. But we have such global connections and change so many lives through what happens right here in these two towns.
There's no question. I mean, a lot of our students obviously come from the SCEV, and the performers that I was describing about the Grammys, Jenny Coe and Emily Bear, they are out there. I mean, if you go to New York and you ask a lot of musicians about the Music Institute of Chicago, chances are they're going to know about it.
Yeah.
Because of the people who have come out of here.
So how do you, if you want to take classes and become part of the academy, how does that work?
Sure. Well, for the 98% of us who are not going to be professional musicians, really it's just a matter of enrolling, just registering. And that's open now for the fall. It's musicinst.org. And we have 180 faculty members. And one of the reasons it's that big is because we interview every student coming in, because placement with the right teacher, matching learning styles and sometimes geography, is exceedingly important to success, basically, in learning. And if for some reason we don't get it right, we have many other teachers that we can plug in to make it right. So that's one of the features of private instruction here, is that we're really going to find the right teacher for a 4-year-old and a 94-year-old. And as for the academy, it does auditions. I think the next round of auditions are in August. You can also find that on musicinst.org. And it is an audition, and there are some stringent requirements of things that you have to play. But if you get in, almost all of our students go to whatever conservatory they want. They're sought after, basically. So you will get the best preparation in order to be a professional.
Yeah, I think that's it's pretty impressive to have that on your resume and to be able to learn from some of the best here in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago is a great music town.
It absolutely is. I mean, we have so much music that has just come from this city. I mean, for all different types of music. I mean, we're known for the blues, but there's so many things that have come out here. This is just a side note, I guess, but Chess Records. Mm-hmm. So I was on some Facebook group, and somebody posted a picture of the Chess Brothers, and their name was spelled CZYZ, and my mom's family is Ches, but it was originally CZYZ, and it was from this town in Mutala, and I think Belarus. I'm like, wait a second, I wonder if they're related to me, and it turned out they were cousins of mine, but never even knew about that until I think a couple of years ago. My grandparents were like, "Oh yeah, we're cousins." I'm like,
that's amazing, and that's a real Chicago story, right? Because people come from, it's a very international city as well.
Yeah, and you have the Rolling Stones recording here, and all Muddy Waters, and everybody. I mean, Chicago is just a haven for music, and and I think that having an institution like the Music Institute of Chicago is just such a wonderful place to continue to grow that spirit and show how we can influence the globe.
It's a good way to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Now, if people want to find out more, where should they go?
The website is the place to go. It's musicinst.org. Right on the homepage, you can click to register for classes and private lessons, concert tickets, just everything that you would be interested in is right on the homepage.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of information there. Is there anything I missed that you wanted to add?
Well, I think we pretty well covered it. But the thing that people don't know about us is that community aspect, because they do think of us, okay, there's the Grammy Award-winning musician, or yes, my grandchild is taking lessons and so on. But this idea of music as service is very important to us, and that's been growing over recent years. And people who live on the North Shore are blessed, frankly, and we want them to basically leverage their blessings into places that don't have them.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to take away. And everyone, I mean, if you've ever thought about taking lessons and want to get involved in music, or you want to go hear a terrific concert, it is right here in Evanston, which is pretty amazing. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all for listening.